Oh, hey, everybody. Welcome to Conspiracy, the show. I'm your host, Adam Todd Brown. Joining me as guest co host this week, Atif Myers is here. How's it going, man?
Good. How about yourself? Fired up.
I am doing great. I am excited to revisit this topic. We've covered this before, but we didn't really take it that seriously. We're talking about the San Francisco 49ers substation injury theory.
I think when people knew that or find out that I'm on the show or know that I'm on the show and like hear you revisiting a topic, I think half of them were like, "Oh my God, it's gonna be sad and black." Like,
Yeah. Turns out it just involves police brutality, is all of
yeah.
49ers injuries. We're sorry to report. I think we're going to break some hearts on this episode because I went into this wanting to believe the substation theory, and now I just don't.
I still believe it. I mean, you can't use a phone on an airplane, right? So of course, if you're practicing next to a substation, you're gonna get fucked up. That's my science.
Here's the thing, I should clarify. I'm not convinced that living near a substation is safe. I'm not convinced of that at all. And if anyone out here is, you're kind of cherry picking the science because the science is actually still kind of open on especially electromagnetic waves, EMFs, electromagnetic fields, things like that. And we'll talk about it a little bit.
Bro, when you get an X-ray, they put you in a flak jacket, right? This is I just assume you're living next to an X-ray. You brought on the dumbest person to help with this.
Again, I am not convinced that living near a substation is safe. I'm not convinced that these EMF waves are safe. And even the World Health Organization, they bring up a scientist on a podcast episode that we're going to talk about in this episode. He talks about what the acceptable levels of these waves are. And they talk about how there are other experts who say it's lower and they don't really name them. I looked it up. It's the fucking World Health Organization that says they should be significantly lower. So when they say there's disagreement, it's not like fringe scientists.
Yeah.
It's mainstream scientists are kind of up in the air on it. But at the same time, I don't think it's what's causing the 49ers injuries. For one thing, there's a really big reveal coming that kind of blows up the substation theory.
Sure. Theory, not the substation, just the theory.
Yeah. Did you hear that, NSA? We said the
Yeah.
theory. We are
Theory.
not planning to blow up a substation.
No, I don't give a fuck about the Niners.
Yeah. I have not the means, motive, nor opportunity to do such a thing. So great news, everybody. Pablo Torre has done a podcast episode about this. Pablo Torre, he's an ESPN personality who I like a whole lot.
He's like the last guy doing like real sports journalism.
Yeah. My only gripe with him, I've brought this up before, and I think I'm going to re release this episode just to do it because it was my fault for putting it behind a paywall. But a year or two ago, Pablo Torre did an episode of his podcast about how Trump's presidency could just be a big revenge plot against the NFL over him not being allowed to buy the Buffalo Bills. And Pablo Torre got all this attention for it, like it was a big sensation on the internet. I did that same episode in 2018. And I'm not saying he stole my idea. I'm just saying, I guess I should have made mine public when I released it.
You got to start finding out. You got to start snitching on Kawhi. Every week, there's a new Kawhi got money story from Pablo. He's on his ass, bro.
If Pablo Torre ends up dead, Kawhi Leonard did it.
It's gonna be like Uncle Leonard or something, whoever Kawhi's uncle slash manager is. Uncle Dennis. Yeah.
He is fucking with Kawhi Leonard's money really hard on his
Bro,
podcast right
the
now.
fucking he had a side deal with the scoreboard company. Like
I will say, I think he did a really good job with this substation episode. But also, when you say he's one of the last ones doing investigative journalism, yes, but also on this episode, no.
No, for sure. I meant like in terms of like the sports media landscape.
Yeah. On this particular episode, and that's not me saying there's no journalism happening here. He just talks to the host of another podcast. Wendy Zuckerman of the Science Versus podcast
Oh,
is the guest. And she did an episode about this and interviewed Peter Cowan, who is the guy who kind of started this whole theory, which is a pretty recent theory. It only goes back a few years.
I was gonna say, like I heard first time I heard about this was like last year.
The basic gist of the theory, it's really easy to understand. As it goes, the 49ers have a electrical substation next to their stadium and practice facilities.
Like a giant one.
A huge one.
Like a comically big substation.
Right. The theory is that the 49ers, who have been plagued by injuries since 10, 12 years ago, it's kind
Yeah.
of become their identity. They're just always injured. The theory is they're getting these injuries because of the effects of playing and practicing so close to that substation.
Which I kind of agree with, because like, would you eat at a restaurant near a substation?
Honestly, yeah, probably.
Really? I wouldn't. I'd be like, dude, I don't need no fucking laser hamburgers. Like, I'm not doing that. It's like, fuck that. So, like, these people are fucking practicing near a substation. Like, of course they're gonna get fucked up.
I mean, yeah, if it is true that being that close to a substation is that dangerous. But again, that's a thing that it seems like science is not settled on.
Or at least annoying with that humming noise.
The noise would definitely bother me.
It would drive me fucking crazy, bro.
And I know sometimes being sensitive to things like that, being sensitive to noise, can manifest itself in your body in weird ways.
Yeah.
So maybe there's something to that. Again, I'm not discounting the idea that being too close to a substation would be bad for you. I would still fuck up the right taco if it was
I would not.
right outside a substation. No problem.
If there's a Chili's next to a substation, I'm avoiding that Chili's. And I love Chili's.
Who doesn't love Chili's?
I love Chili's so much.
It's great. It's great. So let's kind of go through this Pablo Torre episode first, because
Sure.
I do think he does a good job digging into the science of this. It's just, I think everyone's leaving an obvious suspect off the table here.
Oh, side note, if Pablo Torre is ever on your ass, just snitch. Just snitch on yourself. Because he's gonna find out.
Yeah, that's the name of his podcast.
He's a ruthless motherfucker.
Yeah, Pablo Torre finds out.
Dude, he's
You go on his
insane.
podcast and he just shows you pictures of shit you did when you were a teen. God damn, dude, we didn't even have social media then.
It's like, how did you find pictures of me in Jinko jeans, Pablo Torre?
And I have a copy. I look great. So they talk about Peter Cowan, who is kind of the godfather of this theory. Important note about Peter Cowan, not a scientist. He is a high school dropout, a former hacker who in this interview just kind of admits to like getting rich off of running hacking schemes back in the day. He's just like,
Oh,
statute of limitations, baby, which apparently it's like 5 years on wire fraud.
wow.
He's like, yeah, I didn't go to high school. I just got rich stealing money from idiots on the internet. And now I spread substation theories.
We gotta start stealing people's money.
Yeah, we got to come up with
We gotta do a wire fraud scheme.
some sort of illegitimate hustle. But we got to do it as a business, so we just get fined.
Mm,
If we do it as individuals, we just go to prison.
that's that white crime. Thank you. Yeah,
Yeah.
you put me on game.
Yeah, hell yeah. So Peter Cowan, I feel like when, especially if you lean more toward the conspiracy theory side of this, when you get scientists who are saying, no, actually, the amount of waves it's putting out isn't actually anything dangerous. I feel like a conspiracy theorist's heart, your first instinct is, well, all right, what are those scientists' motives? What are they up to? Like who's funding them? And what you find, at least in the science with the scientists quoted in this episode, are that they don't have a lot of weird industry ties or financial motives. But Peter Cowan, it seems like, is also sort of a holistic healer type
Oh no.
who could potentially have some vested interest in selling people on the idea that electromagnetic waves are a huge problem. Just putting that out there. I'm not accusing him of that. I'm just saying it's a possibility.
Is he one of those people that has like the mat filled with dirt that you're supposed to lay on? Have you heard of this?
No, but it wouldn't surprise me.
There's some hippies that have like a mat filled with dirt and they lay on it so you can get closer to the earth. And these dirt mats cost like $50 to $100. They're pretty fucking expensive. But it's like it's just two yoga mats sewn together with fucking dirt in it.
That's the kind of shit we got to invent. There needs to be a Shark Tank for crazy shit like that. Just get me in front of like Antonio Brown, Oscar De La Hoya, a bunch of crazy motherfuckers who are rich.
Excuse me, it's called a grounding mat and it's $850 on the low end.
Oh, I mean, you can't afford not to buy it at that price. What if they go up? You know?
Jesus Christ. Yeah. Fucking dirt mats.
So when I say they talked to Peter Cowan on this episode, this other podcast host had already talked to him. So they're showing clips from that interview on this Pablo Torre episode. And I'll also link to his articles that he's written about it. This guy's done some research. I will grant him that. He's done a lot of research into electromagnetic fields, how they could impact the body. It just does seem like he might be kind of cherry picking the stuff that makes his theory sound believable and
Sure.
leaving out other stuff that might discredit it a little bit. But he talks about how you can hear this substation when you're at 49ers game. Sound gets louder when you walk closer to it.
Of course.
He measured the EMF output near it because his thinking is that these EMF waves are creating oxidative stress that is attacking the collagen in tendons and ligaments. And that's why the 49ers are having all these injuries. That's an important thing to point out. He's not just fixated on injuries, it's the type of injuries. Achilles injuries, ACLs, hamstrings, stuff like that. Those are the types of injuries he's focused on. And he thinks it's EMF waves weakening the collagen in those tendons. One of the interesting things that comes up in this, because they're talking about how this guy's not a scientist.
Yeah.
The podcast co-host, Wendy Zuckerman, who's doing most of the heavy lifting here, she brings on a scientist. She also talked to an actual scientist on her podcast, an Australian guy named Ken Karapidis, who researches whether waves emitted from power lines and things of that sort are dangerous. Peter Cowan brings up that these EMF levels near the 49ers practice facility are 50 milligauss.
Yes.
That sounds really alarming. He goes to an area further away from it and it's like 8. And he says something about the normal exposure being like 2 milligauss.
Okay, damn.
And so that 50 number sounds very alarming. But what this Ken Karapidis guy brings up is that the actual safe level, according to at least the organization he works for, is 2,000 milligauss.
Which is like a microwave.
Which is significantly more than the 50 that is around the 49ers substation. But what's complicated there is I just mentioned the World Health Organization. They're the ones who say the safer level is actually closer to like 2 or 3. But they're basing it on a study that was done in the 70s that found a possible link between living near a substation and kids getting leukemia.
Aaron Brockovich.
Yeah. Exactly that kind of thing. But the research around it has changed since then.
Yeah.
So whereas the World Health Organization is approaching it out of like the utmost caution, there's other organizations that are like, well, we've looked at it more since then, and it's not quite as serious. So there's no denying that the science around this is kind of still up in the air.
I just wish there was a better place for them to practice. Like that substations are literally right there.
Well, that's the other weird thing about this whole theory is everyone from the people who run the substation to all the higher ups at the 49ers are like, yeah, we looked into it. There's no cause for concern. But meanwhile, on the 49ers side of things, they're like, oh, but we are moving our practice facility. We're moving
Yeah.
that fucking thing like by the end of the year. We are getting the fuck out of here. And it's like, well, that's weird, especially when you look into why their practice facility is where it is. They used to practice like 70 fucking miles away from their stadium and would have to commute. And the whole selling point was, well, now we can just practice right there at the stadium. There's none of that back and forth. So that was kind of a big deal. And now all of a sudden they're just like, 12 years was a good run. Let's find new practice facilities. Good enough. So that part is weird. Also, the 49ers commissioned this report, but won't release any details about it.
Dog, that's what they know it can damage them.
Yes, but also could it be something else? I think is a
They're
question.
microwaving their collagens. Fucking dog.
Well, when I mentioned this Peter Cowan guy ignoring other science, there are actually scientific studies out there that show electromagnetic fields and the waves they emit can actually strengthen collagen.
Oh.
So that, for one, if true, really blows up his theory. But there's also something they bring up at the very end of this Pablo Torre episode that I think really, really hurts this guy's claims. One of the big pushbacks people have against the substation theory is, okay, well, the 49ers injuries started going up in 2014. That substation has been there since the 80s. And Peter Cowan's argument is, yes, but in 2014, it was greatly expanded.
Yeah.
But what they bring up at the end of this Pablo Torre episode is, yes, a substation near Levi's Stadium was expanded in 2014. It was not the one next to Levi's Stadium. It was
Oh.
one a few miles away from Levi's Stadium. The one next to it was not expanded in 2014. So that feels like not even him cherry picking, but almost being a little deceptive.
And maybe lazy, a little bit lazy too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of where the Pablo Torre episode leaves it is, well, this guy's wrong on some of his facts, but the science is still out there. It's probably not the substation. We have no idea what's happening. And it reminds me a little bit of the Ace of Base article I wrote when I worked at Cracked. Are you familiar with this article?
Yeah, you've bummed me out with it. Yeah.
I love breaking people's hearts with that Ace of Base is a straight up Nazi band. But
Yeah.
I've told this story before. It was when Trump was first running for office. I was like, well, I better study up on some Nazi shit. And I was watching a show on Netflix called Nazi Megastructures. And they were talking about this U boat base where all of the best U boat captains ran their operations out of. And they called it the Base of Aces. And when I heard that, I was just like, wait, that sounds like Ace of Base. And if you look at Ace of Base's name, it's not BASS like in music, it's BASE.
Yeah.
And I was like, well, shit, is Ace of Base maybe a secret Nazi band? When I started looking into it, it turns out a writer at Vice did half the work for me. Because, yes, one of the lead singers of Ace of Base was in a straight up skinhead Nazi band in the 80s. They released albums, they were a fucking vile right wing hate band.
Was it Ulf Ekberg?
Yes, Ulf Ekberg.
Yeah, he looks like a Nazi. Yeah, so
What made it so easy for me is Vice did all that work, but then ended the article by asking, well, did this guy start Ace of Base to hide his Nazi past? And I was like, better question, is Ace of Base a fucking Nazi band?
yeah.
And if you look into it, it seems like they are. And I feel like with this Pablo Torre episode and with this story in general, people are missing an obvious fucking possibility here.
Yeah.
Again, the substation theory kind of relies on the idea that This substation was expanded in 2014, and that's when all the trouble started. This Pablo Torre episode kind of undoes that idea that it was the substation next to it that was expanded in 2014. So that got me to thinking, well, what changed about where the 49ers were in 2014? I think our culprit here might be the turf at Levi's stadium.
It's not as fun.
I know it's not nearly as fun. That sucks.
Yeah.
The turf did change in 2014, and that is when the injuries start going up. As it turns out, I looked into the history of all of this. That turf was a fucking debacle right out of the fucking gate.
I believe it. Yeah.
We'll get to that part in a second, but I did a little research once I started tumbling down this rabbit hole. There are 16 NFL teams that use natural grass at their stadiums. Let's go through the list. There are 5 teams: Jaguars, Dolphins, Cardinals, Ravens, Bucks, that all use Tifway 419 hybrid Bermuda grass. 4 teams: Browns, Broncos, Packers, Bills, use natural Kentucky bluegrass. Commanders and Eagles, natural Bermuda grass. Bears, Steelers, Tahoma 31 Bermuda grass. There are 2 teams in the NFL that use their own special version of grass at their stadiums. One, the Kansas City Chiefs, Northbridge Bermuda grass, which argue with those fucking results since 2014.
Yeah.
Every team should be putting Northbridge Bermuda grass in their stadium. But also Levi's Stadium, the 49ers, Bandera Bermuda grass. They use their own type of grass made by a company called West Coast Turfs. And I'll link to a bunch of articles from 2014 and 2015 from the early days of when this grass was installed. And there is some interesting shit in those articles. Again, it was first installed April 2014. Tifway Bermuda grass was used prior to 2014. Here's a quote from one of these articles. Tiff, you've played sports before, right?
Yeah. Played some D1 lacrosse.
Tell me if this sounds right to you. It's a quote from a 2014 article about this new turf that they were about to install at Levi's Stadium. Here goes. The 49ers chose this style of grass in part to help their players avoid injuries. The team sports turf manager and head groundskeeper, Matt Greiner, said the grass type has good tensile strength, so when a player plants his cleat, it stays together. It's our anticipation that you will have fewer players falling. End quote. That doesn't sound right to me.
No.
That the combination of your foot really planting in the ground while you fall would be a good thing.
No. But like, yeah, no, I feel like you'd want something with a little give.
Yes.
I don't know, I just imagine kind of running on concrete at that point, right? Where it's like you just stay planted. Well, yeah, you don't want that. Back in the day when they had like the AstroTurf, there would be like these little black pellets all over it just to keep it more cushioned and give you more spring. It fucking sucked when it was like super hot because those things would just fucking be like little, they're just hot as fuck. But like I don't think you want something like that tough to run on.
The thing it reminds me of, hearing him talk about how you plant your cleat and that grass just stays together, is the fucking Joe Theismann injury.
Oh, yeah.
I am unfortunately old enough to have watched that live on television at the age of 9, I believe. It was either 8 or 9.
Or Alex Smith for you young heads.
Yeah. Alex Smith, same sort of thing. But Joe Theismann, he was a quarterback, played for Washington. Really good, great player. On Monday Night Football, ends up getting hit by Lawrence Taylor, one of the most notoriously lethal defensive players in history. Even he, when this play happened, got up and was like, holy shit, this is bad. Like,
yeah.
He started waving people over. And what happened is Theismann's foot planted in the ground. And when Lawrence Taylor hit him from the side, his knee just like snapped in half.
Yeah.
Because his foot was planted. And it sounds like that's kind of what they're getting at with this grass. Because here's another quote. Again, we're talking about hybrid grass that's designed to withstand multiple events and shit. This is another quote from the article. And this is the interviewer talking about the grass. We tried ripping apart a sample size of the grass, but it was as tough as a rug. I get that we're calling this natural grass, but it doesn't fucking sound like natural grass to me.
No.
So I'll link to those two articles. They end with this ominous quote. The field's first test will come August 2nd when the Earthquakes host the rival Seattle Sounders football club in the first sporting event in the stadium's history. And I say that's ominous because cut to August 22nd, 2014. Headline, NBC Bay Area. 49ers install new, deeper turf at Levi's Stadium. That shit made it all of 20 fucking days.
Jesus.
This turf that they wrote articles about, bragged about how legendarily safe and effective it was going to be, made it 20 fucking days before the 49ers had to replace it.
That's crazy. That's fucking crazy.
And I think if nothing else, it speaks to there being another possibility besides the substation, albeit a more boring possibility.
Yeah.
But also, isn't it one the 49ers would still want to cover up a little bit?
Probably. To be like, we actually made a boneheaded choice and it's kind of on us as opposed to this substation. Yeah.
Because it would be one thing if they had these issues in 2014 with the initial turf and then whoops, we fucked something up, we replaced it, and now it's fine. But that's not what happens.
No.
But before we get to that, there's a really interesting quote from this NBC Bay Area article that I think speaks to this maybe even being a bigger problem than just the turf. Here goes. A source with the city of Santa Clara told NBC Bay Area the issue was not with the grass, but with the sand surface underneath. Team officials said they know why the turf didn't take properly, but they declined to disclose that information. End quote.
Damn.
So now, is it just the turf, or is the entire foundation of that field faulty in some way? Which then you're talking about a whole other sort of repair.
Not even a repair. You got to fucking move. Like, you'd have to like uproot everything, right? And destroy, because if you have to fucking fix the foundation, you might as well just move at that point.
And it seems like that sand underneath is kind of integral to having a stadium in that area because it's a rainier area of California. And that sand helps move water better. For some reason, this grass only needs to be watered like 50% of the time as regular grass also, which is weird. So it would be one thing if changing that turf in 2014 fixed things, but it seems like it sure did not. Let's just run through a couple headlines. ESPN 2015, Levi's Stadium grass problems force 49ers to cancel practice open to the public. CBS Sports 2015, grass at $1.2 billion Levi's Stadium is falling apart for second year in a row.
Did they fire the groundskeeper?
No, there's actually a 2026 interview with him.
How the fuck does he still have his job?
And what's crazy is, and we'll link to all this, if you read up on the guy who developed this grass, he's like a huge 49ers fan. And it seems like he was like, I'm going to make my team the best grass. And I can't prove it, but it seems like he might have made his team grass that gives them a bunch of fucking ACL tears and tendon injuries.
Most of the teams in the top 10 of injuries have Bermuda grass.
That's crazy because the whole talking point around grass is what's going to cut down on injuries.
Yeah, like, again, the 49ers, Miami, Baltimore, Arizona, like, these are all in the top 10 of injured teams.
So there's also SF Gate 2016. Levi's Stadium has turf trouble during Super Bowl. SB Nation 2019. Levi's Stadium has infamous turf. Here's the national championship grass situation. San Francisco Chronicle 2026. Why Levi's Stadium is the worst rated Super Bowl site.
Damn.
So if nothing else, the issues with the turf carried on at least until 2019. And in that article, to bring up the sand underneath again, they mentioned that they were going to try a new root system to fix whatever was causing the problem. So at least half a decade in, whatever was wrong in 2014 still was not fixed.
Yeah.
And I think if nothing else, if you're going, well, why did the 49ers have all this increase in injuries starting in 2014? Maybe that. I know it's boring, but it really feels like it could be that they are playing on the worst fucking turf in the NFL. Even though it's natural grass and we're all inclined to think that's always better, this feels like weird Frankenstein grass that could still fucking hurt you.
Yeah, and it's again, these are all leg injuries that
Yes.
these are primarily leg injuries that are affecting the players. So why wouldn't they look towards the ground?
Yeah.
Right? Does that make sense? They're just blaming, like, they're blaming the substation, which again, it's way more fun to blame. But it's like, oh man, what is the correlation of all of our players to hurt their legs? What do they all do? They all run on the same place.
I wonder if they're just in a spot where they have to use that grass because people might note, well, I list all these headlines and they stop at 2019. So did maybe that new root system fix the problem in 2019? And maybe there aren't any issues since. SF Gate 2026. NFL tears up entire 49ers field ahead of Super Bowl. They replaced the turf with natural Bermuda grass for the Super Bowl at Levi's Stadium.
Shouldn't the grass be all uniform?
You would think.
Right?
You would think just for like fairness reasons, like literally level the playing field,
Yeah.
make it so everyone's playing on the same. But then it gets into, well, then should every team have to play in a dome?
Sure. Yeah, fair. But it's like but there have been some teams that like you can even tell like, oh, that grass fucking sucks. I just think a lot of like the Ohio teams where I'm like, dude. Or when the fucking Raiders used to play at that fucking baseball stadium. And during like if there was still baseball during the season, it's like, all right, so half your field is fucking dirt, but all right, we're still gonna play.
And they couldn't, I mean, I guess in the 80s you couldn't fix that, but
Yeah, this was before they left for Vegas. That shit was still happening. Like, so yeah, I don't know. It seems pretty fucking dangerous. But they're already like hitting each other and like giving themselves concussions. So
I just wonder who would be motivated most to lie about this.
hmm.
If it was the turf and the 49ers knew, would that open them up to some sort of liability? Could the players union come at them and be like, hey, a lot of your players would have had longer careers if you didn't buy that shitty grass and then stick with it for as long as you did? I don't know. Is the grass company the one spreading the substation rumors?
Probably big grass.
Because, I mean, seems like they got a good gig going with the 49ers. And they also, West Coast Turf has done a bunch of Super Bowls, but it seems like they're not doing this grass with the Super Bowl. Again, I can't prove it, but reading all of this shit about the grass, something about it seems different. It seems like from the drainage system to the type of grass they're using, something about it is different. And it seems like it has to be different. Like they can't change it.
Yeah.
And I would not be surprised if that explains a lot of your injuries over the substation.
We should go walk it. Is there a way we can walk on the turf?
I mean, I bet you can do like stadium tours and shit.
Okay. Because yeah, like it has to be the grass, I guess.
Yeah, I feel like it seems like a more obvious culprit. And also, I keep mentioning how this grass doesn't seem super grass like.
Yeah.
There's this other weird quote from an interview with one of the people from the company that created this grass. I had never fucking thought about this. Here's the quote. Look at any stadium over any year. The fields in the 60s and 70s and 80s, the uniforms were pretty muddy. You look at the fields now and it's amazing. The development and advancements in growing just sod, but sod specifically for high demanding customers like the NFL. That's the most demanding customer we have. And you see grass stains, but you don't see mud on the uniforms anymore. And
Huh.
I never fucking thought about that, but you don't.
No.
You never see mud. So how natural is this fucking grass that they're growing?
Yeah, but then again, they also fuck if other teams have like a concrete foundation and then like a foot or two of the fake grass on top, whereas San Fran has like the sand foundation, but then the grass on top of it. Like you kind of playing, I feel like on this super hard grippy surface that isn't stable. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I think another factor here could be one of the big complaints about the 49ers stadium is the way they designed it. Half of the field is just baking in sun the entire game.
Yeah.
Like if it's a day game, there's one half of the stadium that's just bright the whole time. You're going to get murdered by the sun if you sit on that side. This grass, one of its selling points, it's designed to stay greener than typical grass. So, did that fucking design flaw necessitate the use of this specific
Hmm.
grass? So the 49ers don't have a half brown field the entire season. Did they sacrifice player safety for aesthetics, basically?
Probably.
Yeah, I don't know. I just feel like I'm on to something. I feel like the turf could be our actual demon here and maybe not the substation. And listen, everybody, I know that's boring, but isn't
That is
it
boring.
a little more reassuring?
No,
I'm sorry. Do you have this special brand of Bermuda grass in your yard?
no, my yard's a shit show. No.
But you probably got a substation somewhere near you.
That is true. I do. Actually, I went like pretty close.
So I would much rather find out that it's the grass as opposed to the substation. I live near
Right.
a ton of shit like that. I got refineries near me. I got substations,
No, I do have a substation. It's like super close. It might be like, yeah, it's like 3 or 4 blocks away.
but I bet I've never set foot on Bandera Bermuda grass even once. So
It's true. Much less like try to juke somebody and then get hit by like a 250 pound man who's like 6'6", full of pads. Yeah, no.
and an electromagnetic field all at the same time.
Yeah.
Got to absorb both of those hits.
Fuck.
So I don't know. Do we have any final thoughts on this?
This might be the saddest episode we've ever done together.
It's a little disappointing, sure.
Yeah, I would love it if it was just like electromagnetics that are messing people up.
I was ready to like pick apart the Pablo Torre episode and be like, well, you ignored this study, you ignored that. They didn't. They touched on all
No.
that shit. So that was disappointing. And then I start looking into it more and just the grass. But I think it might be the grass, everybody.
But then once I saw that like the majority of the top rated teams that are injury prone have this Bermuda grass, I was like, oh, that makes way more sense then.
I mean, if nothing else, even if they got the grass fixed in 2019, the fact that they played on it for 5 years would absolutely factor into all those extra injuries.
Yeah.
So then, how many of those extra injuries do you subtract because of the grass? Because one of the things they also bring up on the Pablo Torre episode is, yeah, the 49ers lead the league in injuries depending on how you look at it. But even then, they don't lead the league in injuries by much. So
Yeah.
it's not like just this unexplainable gap between them and everyone else. They just have the most.
It is at the end of the day like a super violent sport,
Yeah.
right? Like, yeah. So I mean, there's going to be injuries regardless. But like the grass, if it injures what, like 5% more, if the injuries are more, or if your players are more 5% or 5% more to be more injured, then like that is a huge difference. That's championship or bust. So, like that's a huge fucking difference.
Yeah. It's a big deal. And then you couple that with the fact that the 49ers are not a young team. They are
No.
getting up there in years. So I honestly think these injuries are something else. And something else a lot of people have brought up, Kyle Shanahan's practice routine. He is brutal when it comes to how much he makes his players practice. Like it's a well-known thing. So combine worst turf in the league, an aging roster, and a coach who makes them practice like they're in fucking boot camp. it stands to reason the 49ers would have more injuries.
And he also was the one who fucking ruined RG3's career in Washington.
How so?
He was their offensive coordinator.
Didn't RG3 just get injured though?
He got injured, but then they brought him back too quick. If
Uh,
that makes sense. They were like, oh, you can play without a meniscus. Go on out there. And like ended that guy's career.
yeah, that sucks. So yeah, I think we did it. More like conspiracy. The show finds out.
I'm so bummed. I'm so fucking sad about it.
It's fine. We don't want substations to be bad. They're everywhere. It'd be like finding out data centers are bad. You can tell me that next?
You see, fucking the ones in Texas wanted 40% of the energy output that like America produces just to put data centers in Texas.
Sounds fair.
They were like, we need 40 gigawatts or something fucking crazy. 40 bajillion gigawatts of electricity for 1,800 data centers. And they were like, that is half of America.
That's
Like someone
crazy.
that's well, Texas also has they have a shitty electrical infrastructure anyway.
Yeah, they have a power grid that doesn't connect to any adjoining states, which
Yeah.
means if their power grid starts to get overloaded, they can't go to neighboring states and be like, hey, send us some power so our shit doesn't fail. Because they're Texas and they don't need that kind of help.
Yeah, because what when it snowed like 3 inches like a few years ago, it just took out all of Texas.
State just was dark for like a week. Don't mess with Texas. It's like, motherfuckers, that was an anti littering campaign. Calm down.
Is
Fucking,
that what that was?
yeah. Don't mess with Texas was anti littering. It was not about Texas being super tough. It was about stop throwing your fucking hot dog wrappers on our highways.
God.
Don't mess with Texas. That's how they should say it.
You really just ruined things.
Yeah. Yeah. Adam ruins everything. What a great idea for a TV show. So I think that's our episode. We did it. Atif, thank you so much.
Of course.
Sorry to break your heart about the substation theory. What do we have to plug before we get out of here? A new way to subscribe to get bonus episodes and ad-free episodes of Conspiracy the Show. Go to youdon'tevenlike.com/conspiracy subscribe, all one word. And you can sign up for $2 a month for now. That's going up.
Oh.
Atif, what do you want to plug?
Check out Sus Stories, my podcast that is very short where I review weird comic books. I also have a Patreon, $5. Gets you a bonus episode. It's commercial free and it comes out a day early. $20, you get comic books from me.
Hell yeah. And I think that's it. Let's get the fuck out of here. Tiff, say goodbye.
Peace.
Goodbye, everybody. We love you.